Hi everyone, my name is Luke Parker from Bracebridge Engineering, and in this video we're going to be talking about to quote or not to quote. Now, in the last video we talked about why my quote takes so long. Quoting is a big subject, so I thought we'd do maybe even a couple more videos on quoting because it's a large topic. This actually came through as a recommendation from Neil at Hoden Power, so we thank you for that. You can follow them on Twitter at Hoden Power. They do some great work on Twitter, so do that. So thanks again, Neil. So what we're going to talk about basically is why we would quote and why we wouldn't quote. There are probably about four major reasons either way, and I've got some notes down there that I'll refer to. And we'll start off really with why we would quote. Now, the main reason, obviously, for most companies is because it's a value to us. It works out, it fits our profile. And it works out both not only for us but also for the customer. So that's probably the major reason. The numbers look good, and it's worth doing. We've got the capabilities, we've got the capacity to do it. It fits our profile. The second really rolls into that is really it suits our production methods. So we've got capability, we've got press capability, we've got staff, and we've got the training and know-how and the skills to do the job. For us in particular, we like medium to high run volumes of parts, so anywhere from sort of a few thousand up to several 100,000, even a million parts suits us. Anything below that then kind of goes into the reasons why, which we'll talk about in a little while, but it's more to do with is the economical viability for both us and the customer. It's no good spending 20 grand on a tool to make 50 parts worth 50p. It's just not worth it for the customer to pay that. So really the production methods, that's the second major reason. It suits our production. And third, really, it kind of goes in to our sort of philosophy here. We like to take on challenges. So the third really being is it stretches us, it challenges us to do new things. We've taken on projects that aren't really worth massive amounts of revenue for us, but it's a new way of doing things, or it's a difficult pressing, it's a difficult deep drawn press, and we think, right, we'll have a go at that. Nobody else is willing to, we'll have a go. And we did a couple of those projects last year. We've never failed yet to actually get a part off the press, but some of them have been really challenging. And it stretches our minds and it gives us a new challenge to work on, and obviously we all grow from that. So that's really the third reason why we like to take on problems and say yes to customers. And finally, really, if it's an existing customer, it may not be a huge profit to us or a huge volume, but we do a lot of good work with them anyway. We'll take that on because maybe somebody doesn't want it, and maybe in isolation on its own, it's not really worth a lot. But we'll take jobs on like that. So those are the main four reasons why we look at taking on work. And obviously the main reason, like any business, it's got to be worth something. It's got to be worth us getting up out of bed in the morning, and it's also got to fit our production. So maybe more interesting parts is why we wouldn't look at a part. Now the main reason, and it's probably about 90% of the time why we don't quote when we decline work, is because basically we can't do it. It's not something that suits our production. Maybe it involves laser cutting, which we will outsource, but if it's totally laser cut part, or it's totally an injection molded part or a casting or a machine part, then there's a handful of people we speak to and direct them in that direction should it not suit us. So we'll tell people that we can't do it for whatever reason, but we'll always to our best ability always direct them in the direction of someone that can, and they're generally the same people that we know all the time. We have good relationships with. So that's really the 90% of the reason why we won't quote, is because we can't do it. Secondly, it's not commercially viable for us or the customer, and that goes back to more of the lower volume work or one-offs and things like that, where whether we have to make a million or one part, we still need tooling to do that, and the way we're set up, we need production tooling to do it. So like I said before, it may be something like a part that's only worth 20p or 10p, and they only want 50 of them, and the tooling's 10 grand. It's obviously a no-brainer, and we'll tell the customer straight away, hey, you're going to pay way too much for tooling just to do a small amount. Get them done as a prototype sample where there's only soft tooling made or something like that, and go that way, because it's just not going to be worth it. Also with that, if it's too labour intensive for us, there's loads of operations, loads of welding and things, and it's just going to be too hard, basically not worth it economically, if there's high tooling costs like we said before, and if it disrupts production. So if we've got nice runs of parts, milk run parts that go every week, those are the kind of jobs that are easy to plan for us, and we can schedule them in each week. But if we get, say in the middle of January, a job that drops on once a year that stops the whole shop floor and it's not worth a great deal, then it's going to upset all the rest of our customers and disrupt things too much. So you find a lot of the bigger companies, they don't like small one-off jobs. We handle them to a certain degree because we've got capacity, but when you just have one hit wonders once a year, even if it is regularly once a year or twice a year, it does cause big disruptions, and it's very difficult to predict sales forecasts and things when you don't know when those jobs are coming. So the more regular jobs are obviously something we prefer, and you're going to see more work declined if it's just one-off awkward work. Having said that, we do take on quite a bit of that work because we can fit it in with the way our system works. Thirdly, if slightly more controversially, if we know that this particular inquiry may be a costing exercise, it's been around a little bit, toolmakers start to know, and you send the inquiry and say, oh yeah, we've seen this before. Costing at the end of the day, certainly if it's a bigger part, is very much a time-consuming job. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of consumers, and not only does it take our time, but it also takes the toolmakers' time, and it also takes subcontractors, material suppliers' time. So if we know we're just doing this to just basically make the third number up out of the 3 quotes they have to have, or we've quoted them before, for instance, and we've never won any work, then we're going to start asking questions, because we get toolmakers coming to us saying, look, we've quoted so many tools and we don't win any work off you. And we say, well, yeah, that's the case, because we're not winning the work. So we've got to be really careful. It's our job to make sure that we're not wasting people's time and not quote work we're never going to get. So that's something that all manufacturers will do if they know this particular job has been banded around. This needs to be some straight talking, basically, make sure that nobody's doing work, and a lot of work sometimes parts can take many weeks to do, and it's simply not fair just to know that we're never going to win the work. And also, probably finally, it's just company reputation. If we get an inquiry with a Gmail account or a Hotmail account, we think, well, is this a real company? Have they got money? Have they got funding? Because obviously company checks are quite easy to do these days, and we can find out what sort of debt the companies are in, and are they likely to pay if we get this order, these types of things. So company reputation, if you're a good solid company, or if you've got track records, obviously we look for track records and things when we're going into business with someone, because obviously we want to have a good relationship, and we obviously need to be paid when we produce the goods. So that's really it in a nutshell. These videos tend to drag out too long if we keep going much longer. So those are really the main reasons why and why not that we tend to quote. Like I say, most of the time, if we can do it, we will quote, and if we don't quote, it's mainly because it just doesn't suit us. But we'll always point you into the right direction as someone who can do the work. And fortunately, we do hear a lot of the times that people have won the work, and they tell us thanks for sending forwarding the inquiry, which is always good to hear. So I hope you've enjoyed that video, under 9 minutes, which is what I'm aiming for. Next video we might do another one on quoting or something, but we might win on costings as well. There's lots of different things, manufacturer as well. So hopefully I'll see you next time, and thanks for now. Bye.